What would you do if the person you trusted most turned their back on you at the moment you needed them most? This is the story of a young woman cast out by her own father when she was carrying new life inside her, and how 3 years later she walked back into his life in a way he never imagined. The sun was dipping low over the small European town, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink. In the little cottage by the edge of the village, raised voices shattered the calm of the evening. Anna stood trembling in the middle of the living room, her hands instinctively cradling the small swell of her stomach. She had imagined this moment would be hard, but she had never thought it would break her completely. Her father, Marcus, was pacing the room with a face darkened by rage. He had always been a stern man with sharp opinions and an unshakable sense of pride. Tonight, his pride had turned into something cruel. "You bring shame into this house," he shouted, his voice echoing off the wooden walls. "Do you think people will not talk? Do you think they will not laugh behind my back? A daughter of mine, pregnant and not even married." Anna's lips quivered as she tried to speak. "Papa, I didn't plan for this. But I can't turn back time. I need you. I need your support." Tears welled in her eyes, but she held her chin up, hoping her father might see the frightened girl who still loved him deeply. Marcus slammed his fist against the table, rattling the plates. "Support? You expect me to support this disgrace? You have ruined your future, Anna. And you want me to carry the weight of it? No. You cannot stay here." Her mother, Sophia, had been standing quietly in the corner, her face pale and hands shaking. She tried to intervene, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Marcus, please, she's our daughter. She's still so young. She needs us more now than ever." But Marcus turned on his wife, his anger unrelenting. "If you coddle her, you are no better. She has made her choice and she must live with the consequences. I will not have her under my roof, not with this mistake growing inside her." Anna's knees went weak and for a moment she thought she might collapse. She had always feared disappointing her father, but nothing could have prepared her for this rejection. The home she had known all her life suddenly felt foreign, hostile, unsafe. With trembling hands she gathered what little she could. A small bag with a few clothes. The photo of her mother smiling in the garden. She dared not look at Marcus again, afraid his eyes would harden further if she saw the tears in hers. As she stood in the doorway, the evening chill brushing her skin, she turned to Sophia. "Mama, will you write to me?" Sophia's lips parted as if she wanted to promise, but Marcus's looming presence froze her words. Her eyes, however, glistened with silent sorrow, and Anna knew her mother's heart was breaking just as much as hers. Without another word, Anna stepped out into the darkening street. The door closed behind her with a sound that felt final, like the sealing of fate. The town was quiet. Children's laughter had faded, and lamps flickered on one by one. Anna walked with no clear direction, only the weight of her unborn child and the sharp sting of abandonment guiding her steps. Every corner of the village seemed to whisper of her father's disappointment, of the scandal her neighbors would soon feast upon. She found herself near the bus station, where strangers hurried past with their own troubles, not caring for the young girl clutching her stomach in her bag. She sat on a bench, feeling the cold metal seep through her skirt, and for the first time allowed herself to sob freely. Hours passed before an old woman approached her. She had kind eyes, wrinkled with age, and she smelled faintly of lavender. "Child," she said softly, "why do you cry here in the dark?" Anna tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. The old woman waited patiently, then sat beside her. In the dim glow of the street lamp, Anna told her story haltingly, brokenly. The woman listened without judgment, only nodding gently as though she had heard such pain before. When Anna finished, the woman laid a hand on hers. "You are stronger than you think," she said. "Your father's anger may cast you out, but it cannot take away your worth. Do not forget that." The words were like a balm, and though Anna's tears continued, she felt a spark of hope deep inside her. The woman offered her a warm drink from her flask, then helped her board the last bus heading out of town. Anna didn't know where the bus would take her. She only knew she couldn't stay. As the engine rumbled to life, she looked out the window at the fading silhouette of her village. Somewhere behind those walls, her father believed he had erased her from his life. But Anna knew even then that she carried something more powerful than his anger. She carried life, resilience, and the possibility of a future he could never control. She whispered softly, one hand on her stomach, "We'll make it. Somehow we'll make it." The bus carried her into the night, toward an uncertain future. But as the wheels turned, Anna felt the faintest kick from within her belly, as if her child was reminding her that she was not alone. And far behind, in the silent house, Marcus sat in his chair with the lamp casting long shadows on his face. He told himself he had done the right thing. Yet when he closed his eyes, he saw his daughter's tears, and for the first time in years, he felt something he could not admit even to himself: doubt. But life was already in motion, and the decision he made that night would return to him in ways he could never imagine. The city Anna arrived in was nothing like her quiet village. The bus hissed to a stop at dawn, and she stepped out into streets buzzing with energy. Vendors shouted, car horns blared, and people hurried past without so much as a glance. She tightened her grip on her bag, her other hand steady against her stomach. The sheer size of the place overwhelmed her, but she had no choice but to face it. 4 hours she wandered, searching for a place that felt safe, until exhaustion forced her to rest on the steps of a church. Its stone walls rose high above her, solemn and unyielding, but the open doors seemed to whisper welcome. She hesitated, then walked inside. The air smelled faintly of wax and incense. At the front, candles flickered, casting a warm glow across the wooden pews. Anna sat in the last row and let her shoulders sag. For the first time since leaving home, she felt hidden from the world. A voice startled her. "You look tired." She turned to see a middle-aged woman in a plain dress, carrying a basket of bread. Her name was Marta, and she worked at the church's soup kitchen. She noticed the fear in Anna's eyes, the curve of her stomach, and her damp cheeks. Without asking too many questions, Marta simply said, "You need food. Come." That night, Anna ate warm bread and soup among strangers. Some were homeless, some were immigrants who barely spoke the language, and yet there was a strange comfort in their presence. Everyone carried a story of hardship, and somehow it made her feel less alone. Over the next weeks, Marta became her anchor. She arranged a small room for Anna in a shelter run by the church and even found her light work sorting donations. The shelter wasn't glamorous, the walls smelled of mildew and the mattress was thin, but it was a roof, a place where Anna could breathe. Months passed and Anna's belly grew rounder. Fear often crept in late at night, whispering that she couldn't do this, that she wasn't ready to raise a child alone. But Marta reminded her gently, "Children are stronger than we imagine, and so are mothers." When the day came, Anna clutched Marta's hand in a small hospital ward, her cries echoing as she gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Clara, meaning light, because in the darkest moment of her life, this child had brought her hope. Holding Clara for the first time was overwhelming. Tiny fingers curled around her own, fragile yet determined. Tears streamed down Anna's face as she whispered, "I promise I will never abandon you. I will fight for you no matter what." The years that followed were not easy. Anna worked tirelessly, often taking cleaning jobs and sewing at night to make ends meet. Some days she went hungry so Clara wouldn't. The city was cruel at times. People whispered about her youth, her situation, the absence of a father. But Anna pushed through with quiet resilience, her love for Clara shielding her from the bitterness of the world. Clara grew into a lively toddler, her laughter echoing in their tiny room, filling the space with warmth. She had her mother's bright eyes and her father's dark hair, though Anna rarely allowed herself to think of the man who had left her to face this alone. Still, a shadow lingered in Anna's heart. Each time Clara smiled, she remembered her own father, Marcus, and the night he cast her out. She wondered if he ever thought of her, if regret gnawed at him in the stillness of his evenings. Yet pride stopped her from writing, from reaching out. He had turned his back on her, she would not beg for his love. But fate has a way of weaving paths back together. 3 years after she left home, Anna had built a modest life in the city. She now rented a small but cozy apartment above a bakery, where the smell of fresh bread filled the air each morning. Clara had just turned 3, and her bright laughter carried down the hallways. Anna still worked long hours, but she had managed to save a little money. More than that, she had found strength she never knew she possessed. And then, one quiet morning, Clara toddled over with a drawing she had made. Scribbles of a house, a sun, and 3 stick figures. "Mama," she said proudly, pointing at the drawing. "This is me, this is you, and this is Grandpa." "Where is Grandpa?" Anna froze. Her heart squeezed as memories flooded back, her father's voice shouting, his finger pointing, the door closing behind her. Clara tugged at her sleeve, her innocent eyes waiting for an answer. "Grandpa lives far away," Anna whispered, stroking her daughter's hair. But the question stayed with her all day, gnawing at her heart. Could she keep Clara from knowing her family forever? Could she keep herself from facing the past? That night, as Clara slept, Anna sat by the window watching the city lights shimmer. Against her will, tears rolled down her cheeks. For 3 years she had buried her pain, convincing herself she had moved on. But in truth, A part of her still longed for her father's embrace, still ached for the family she had lost. She didn't know yet that life was about to turn, that soon she would step back into her father's world, not as the frightened girl he cast out, but as a woman transformed, holding the one thing that could melt even the hardest heart. The question lingered in Anna's heart for weeks after Clara first asked about her grandfather. Every night, as she tucked her daughter into bed, she would think about Marcus, about the home she once knew, about the anger and disappointment in his eyes when he cast her out. She had built a life in the city, a fragile one, but it was hers. Yet something within her told her that the time had come to face her past. It wasn't easy to decide. Memories clashed inside her. The stern father who always held his head high, the man who believed in discipline above all, and the man who turned his back on her when she needed him most. But Clara deserved to know where she came from. She deserved to know her grandfather, even if the thought terrified Anna. One morning, as the autumn sun poured through her window, Anna dressed Clara in a little blue dress and packed a small bag. Clara, now 3, asked, "Where are we going, Mama?" "We're going to meet someone," Anna said softly, her voice trembling just a little. "Someone important." The journey back to the village felt surreal. As the train rolled past fields and forests, Anna stared out the window, clutching Clara's small hand tightly. Every stop brought her closer to the place she had once called home, closer to the man whose face had haunted her dreams. By the time they arrived, the sky had turned dusky. Anna hesitated as she stepped onto the familiar platform. Memories rushed back, her father waiting for her after school, his proud smile when she first learned to ride a bicycle, and the harsh coldness in his voice the night he banished her. Clara tugged at her hand, grounding her. They walked the narrow dirt road toward the family house, a modest but proud home that stood at the edge of the village. The garden was still well kept, the fence freshly painted. Nothing had changed, and yet everything felt different. Anna's heart pounded so loudly she feared Clara might hear it. From a distance she saw him. Marcus sat on the wooden bench outside the house, a book resting in his hands. His hair had grown grayer, his shoulders a little more hunched, but his presence was still commanding. He looked older, lonelier somehow, and for a moment, Anna's resolve nearly shattered. "Mama, is that him?" Clara whispered. Anna nodded. "Yes, love. That's Grandpa." They approached slowly. Marcus glanced up, his eyes narrowing in the fading light. He blinked as if unsure his sight wasn't tricking him. The book slipped from his hand and fell to the ground. "Anna?" His voice cracked, rough and uncertain. Tears welled in her eyes. "Hello, Papa." For a long moment, neither moved. Then Marcus's eyes fell on the small child gripping Anna's hand. Clara stared back with wide, curious eyes. "And who is this?" he asked, his voice softer now. "This is Clara," Anna said, her voice trembling. "Your granddaughter." The words hung in the air like a heavy bell toll. Marcus's lips parted, but no words came. His eyes darted between Anna and Clara, disbelief and regret battling across his face. Clara, with the innocence of a child, stepped forward. "Hello, Grandpa," she said brightly. "I drew you in my picture. Mama says you live far away." Marcus's throat tightened. He crouched slowly, almost fearfully, and looked into her face. She had Anna's eyes, but something of him too, the same sharp chin, the same determined set of her mouth. His heart wrenched. His voice broke. "I never thought," he swallowed hard, unable to finish. Anna stood stiffly, arms crossed, holding herself against the emotions threatening to consume her. 3 years, Papa. 3 years since you turned me away. And in that time she was born, she grew, and she laughed without you. You missed it all." Marcus's shoulders sagged, his proud frame trembling. "I was wrong, Anna. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was teaching you responsibility. But all I did was break us apart. Every day since I've hated myself for it." Silence stretched between them, heavy with years of pain. Clara looked from her mother to her grandfather, sensing the weight of their words. Then she reached for Marcus's hand, her tiny fingers curling around his rough, calloused ones. "Can I come inside, Grandpa?" she asked innocently. Marcus's lips trembled as tears finally spilled down his cheeks. He nodded slowly. "Yes, Clara. Yes, of course. Come inside." Anna followed hesitantly, her steps heavy. The house smelled the same, of old wood and herbs, of the faint scent of tobacco Marcus once smoked. Memories crowded every corner. She saw the old table where they had shared meals, the shelf of books she used to read, the framed photographs on the wall, some faded, some new. They sat at the table together, 3 generations bound by love and hurt. Marcus brought out tea, his hands shaking as he poured. He looked at Anna with eyes filled with regret. "I can't undo what I did," he said quietly. "But if you'll let me, I want to know her. I want to be part of her life." Anna's heart warred within her. The wounds of the past still bled, but seeing her father's tears, hearing the crack in his voice, something in her began to soften. Clara climbed onto Marcus's lap, giggling as she played with his beard. The sight was almost too much for Anna to bear. Perhaps forgiveness was not a single moment, but a series of choices, and maybe this was the first. As the evening wore on, Marcus listened eagerly as Clara spoke about her drawings, her little adventures, her love of stories. Each word seemed to stitch a thread back into his broken heart. Anna watched silently, her emotions tangled, but for the first time in years, hope flickered faintly in her chest. The night ended quietly with Clara asleep in Marcus's arms. Anna tucked her daughter into the old bed that once had been hers, and then stood in the doorway watching her father. "3 years ago you destroyed me," she whispered. "But maybe this is where we start again." Marcus raised his eyes, tears glistening. "I pray it is, Anna. I pray it is." Neither knew what the future would bring, but in that moment, surrounded by silence and the soft breathing of a sleeping child, the cracks in their family began slowly to heal. The days that followed were unlike anything Anna had imagined. For 3 long years she had carried bitterness in her heart, convinced that her father's love had vanished the night he cast her out. And yet here he was, transformed, softened by the laughter of a child who knew nothing of past mistakes. Marcus tried to make up for lost time in small, careful ways. Each morning he would sit with Clara at the table, showing her how to crack walnuts with the press of a knife, or reading to her from the books Anna once loved as a girl. The old man's sternness was still there, but it was tempered now with gentleness, the kind that comes from regret. One afternoon Clara came running into the garden, her curls bouncing. "Grandpa, look, I drew another picture," she announced proudly. Marcus took the paper from her tiny hands and studied it with trembling eyes. 3 stick figures again, but this time all were smiling. Above them she had drawn a sun shining brightly, its rays stretching wide. "This is us, isn't it?" Marcus asked softly. Clara nodded. "Yes. Mama, me and you. We're a family." The words pierced through the last of his pride, the final wall he had built around his heart. He pressed the paper against his chest, his tears falling freely. Later that evening, as the 3 of them sat together, Anna finally broke the silence that had weighed on her since returning. "Papa, I need you to understand something. I survived without you. I worked, I struggled, I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can count. But I never let Clara go hungry. I never gave up on her. I did all of it alone." Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with strength. "And I don't forgive you easily. But I'm here because of her. Because she deserves to know you." Marcus bowed his head. "You are stronger than I ever gave you credit for. I thought I was protecting you by being hard. I see now I only pushed you away when you needed me most. If I could change the past, I would. But all I can do now is ask, please let me be in your lives." Anna studied him for a long moment, her heart torn. Part of her wanted to hold on to her anger, to make him feel the pain she had endured. But Clara's laughter, echoing through the house, reminded her that bitterness was a chain she no longer wanted to carry. "I don't know if I can forgive everything," Anna said slowly, "but I can give you a chance. For her sake and maybe for mine too." It wasn't a perfect resolution. Forgiveness is never clean, never instant. But it was a beginning. As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Marcus became Clara's shadow, her storyteller, her companion in the garden. He taught her how to plant seeds and watch them grow, how to whistle through a blade of grass, how to ride a bicycle along the narrow dirt path. In every smile, in every laugh, he found redemption. But life has a way of reminding us of its fragility. One cold winter morning, Marcus collapsed in the yard, his breath short, his face pale. Anna rushed to his side, her heart racing in terror. At the hospital, the doctors explained that years of stress had weakened his heart. They stabilized him, but his condition was serious. Sitting by his bed that night, Anna held his hand, memories flooding her. This man, flawed and proud, had caused her pain beyond words. But he had also given her life, and now, in his vulnerability, she saw not the stern father of her youth, but a man broken by regret and longing. "Papa," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I don't want to lose you. Not now. Not when Clara finally knows you." Marcus stirred, his voice faint. "I don't deserve your love, Anna. But these last months, they've been the happiest of my life. Thank you for letting me meet her. For letting me try again." Her grip tightened. You may not deserve it, but you have it. And you have her too. That's what matters now. Clara climbed onto the bed, her little hands wrapping around her grandfather's. Don't leave me, Grandpa. I need you. Marcus smiled weakly, his tears mingling with hers. I'll stay as long as I can, little one. And even when I can't, I'll always be with you. The following weeks were tender but fragile. Marcus's health remained uncertain, but every moment became precious. He spent his days drawing with Clara, telling her stories of Anna's childhood, and quietly apologizing in ways words could never capture. And Anna, though scars still marked her heart, found healing in the small moments, in seeing her father's eyes light up at Clara's smile, in feeling her family slowly knit itself back together, thread by fragile thread. 3 years earlier she had left this house broken, cast out into a world she didn't understand. Now she returned not as the frightened girl her father had scolded, but as a strong woman, a devoted mother, and the bridge that gave him a second chance. It shocked the entire village when people saw Marcus walking through town with Anna at one side and Clara on the other. The man once known for his pride now laughed openly, held his granddaughter's hand, and introduced his daughter without shame. People whispered about the change, about the miracle of forgiveness that had softened even Marcus's heart. For Anna it wasn't about the whispers. It was about choosing love over bitterness, strength over resentment. She knew her father would never erase the pain he had caused, but he was trying, and sometimes trying was enough. One evening as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Anna watched Clara chase fireflies in the garden while Marcus sat nearby, smiling softly. For the first time in years, Anna's heart felt light. She leaned against the doorframe and whispered to herself, "We came back and we found something worth keeping." Because sometimes the greatest shock isn't in revenge or triumph, but in the quiet, unexpected power of forgiveness.